Before we wrap up, we have Sunita Menon, our Chief Thematic Officer at Breakthrough, who will be delivering the concluding remarks. Please join me in welcoming Sunita.
So I want to express my heartfelt gratitude for making this event a complete learning experience so that we could reflect on our work, our experiences, our research, and bring it here all together for all of us to co-share and co-create this space. So thank you very much. We heard expert panelists. We heard wonderful folk songs, which were also had an activism mode to it. We heard thought-provoking discussions, and we gained valuable insights on transformative research methodology, agency and gender norm shift, and evaluation approaches for measuring systems change. In the first and the second panel, we got a peek into Jharkhand. We almost lived the lived realities of girls in Jharkhand, and you made it real for us. It was not just a continuous story of repression and oppression from multiple spaces, and how the challenges that they were facing on a day-to-day level, but also a story of multiple intersectionalities coming together and how it kind of works both ways in progressing and regressing. And it was interesting that the enumerators who were locally from Jharkhand had very similar experiences of coming out of such regressive norms and breaking out of their identities, sometimes using it as power and sometimes trying to come out of it. So thank you very much for that. I think that was really insightful. Also, the power of the research and the storytelling coming out from the ground, from the people who are based there, has its own value. And hamara research, hamari zubani has a very different meaning, and it does not, the same thing does not reflect when one is doing it from outside. I think a lot of times when some of you were speaking from the heart and how it touched you and how it is. And I think that only comes when you're like in there. So, and the stories were not just about, grim stories or stories of oppression, but there was also stories of and research of hope, of resistance, of aspiration, of breaking barriers. And I think some of our people who were on the panel, whether it was Kanchan or Jagmati who sang the song, are idols in that sense, are people that people look up to who have come out of similar situation and have broken barriers. In the next panel, there was this persistent question of what keep these young people like Jagmati, people like Kanchan, to persist at it and, constantly struggle without, any silver lining to be seen. And in the discussions, many things emerged. Of course, there was also a lot of self-worth that each one of them had, but also how when you're designing programs, you can build it into the system. So whether you build the confidence building, self-worth measures, aspirational building, critical thinking that emerged. Our partner from Nirantar was speaking about it, the deep pedagogy work that was done, work around intergenerational dialogue on how this is important, how male allyship is important, talking to siblings who are male members and who would have power and influence. Community involvement, how they can be your support system, how parents can be your support system. And an interesting element around the economic value of it kind of emerged again and again in different presentations around how having that also kind of helps in breaking barriers. The culture change work on culture changes culture. I think there were references to media, arts and culture on how that has broken barriers. And around technology and mobile access on how that is opening up a lot of space. How that will go, we will wait and see. But yeah, there are opportunities there. The third panel, of course, it's very recent. I will not go into details, but it was around the system, the systemic barriers, how do we evaluate it, the complexities around it, how it is not simple. And for Breakthrough, we have seen all of these challenges. We have faced many failures, we have succeeded, we have struggled, and I think we are here together to co-learn from this space with all of you around, working on systems change, working on norm change. So when we initially started working in India, We were working on domestic violence issues. We were working on women's rights issues. And that's when we realized that, when you're working on domestic violence, it's not just, as Meher said, that systems change is not like compartmentalized, you're all interwoven. The same thing is around gender norm change also. We worked on domestic violence, and then a lot of the stories emerged that early marriage is one of the prime reasons where young girls are unable to negotiate, and therefore domestic violence increases. We started working on early marriage, and then in Jharkhand, then we realized that a whole lot of young girls are being trafficked in the name of marriage to Haryana, Punjab, other areas where the skewed sex ratio is resulting in bride buying. So we started working on that. But the underlying thing is that it is all related to gender-based discrimination and deep patriarchal norms which are seeped into the system. And unless and until you challenge and question and hammer down those very things, it's very difficult to just see things in isolation. So it's very important that you kind of cover the larger gamut of things. So in the 4 states of Delhi, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, and Jharkhand, we have a deep transformation program where we are doing the gender norm work for the past many years. And that is almost like a sandbox of all our work, where we do a complete intervention with multiple stakeholders to see the change. And the length of the program is over 8 to 10 years to see real change, because it's like a generational change. 2 years, 3 years is not going to make a difference. So based on that sandbox, we take the learnings, we leverage the data insights, and we have created a systems change model where we are trying to incorporate a gender transformative education in Punjab and Haryana, in Punjab and Odisha, where we are working with some 66,000 teachers and 4 million adolescents till 2028 to bring a gender transformative lens into the education system there. Of course, it is complex, it's not easy, there are its own challenges, and I think there's been enough said about that. But what we would really like to do in future, taking from our learnings from norm change work and systems change work and the conversation which has happened here based on evaluations, we do feel that we need to address the norm change issues and the systemic barriers collectively. And I mean, no one organization can do it alone. We need the partnership, we need the community to kind of come together and create a movement around this. So what we would really like to do, at least from the education lens, is we would want to kind of be a part of and create an ecosystems change around gender transformative education if we can influence the NCF, the NEP, and the SEP in different states. We would also like to kind of partner with many of you and see if we can influence the state and provide technical partnership, building on each other's strengths. So we may come from a gender lens, maybe some of you are working on learning outcomes, somebody else is coming from a different lens. How can we collectively influence the system? So create a system for a systems change. So that's something that we would also like to do. One of the initiatives that we want to do as part of that is to create a national coalition to build a gender transformative education. As Animesh said, that this is a very recent kind of work, not just in India, but also globally. There are not many examples of gender transformative education happening across the globe. So we would really want to be collectively see if we can make a difference, if we can challenge these things and make a real systems change effort. So as a call to action, I would like to invite some of you organizations, research agencies, people who are working on the intersection of gender and education. If you would want to be a part of this coalition, please meet me right after I step down from the stage. We are planning to hold a meeting on the 17th to do a brainstorming, and we would like to officially launch this by July. So if some of you are interested, please give your names. We would be in touch with you to kind of take this further. So thank you once again for your support, and a big, big round of applause to you all. Thank you.